So we arrived in Oslo around midnight and checked into the Thon Hotel Gardermoen. We picked this place because of its amazing breakfast buffet, and we were not about to miss out on that. The next morning, we dug into an epic spread. Everything from fresh bread to smoked fish and cheese. It was the perfect way to kick off on our journey through Norway. So after stuffing our face full of awesome food, we started to make our way towards the town of Odda. But like all good road trips, we couldn't resist a detour. We had to pay a small toll on the road to get to the waterfall, but otherwise, worth it. After taking in Ulafossen, we made a quick stop in Odda. This peaceful little town had such a calming vibe, the kind of place that makes you slow down and really take in the scenery. The air was so crisp and the landscapes, seriously, it was just unreal. We continued to make our way towards the town of Fossburg to check out the famous Lof Stand Church. It's amazing to think about how this building has been around for such a long time and still looking as natural as when it was first built. And after checking out the church, we wandered through the small town's quaint streets and stumbled upon this awesome looking waterfall stream. So now we're heading towards Geiranger, and we found ourselves constantly stopping to take pictures of the views. The lake sparkling under the sun, the snow-capped mountains reaching up to the sky. But one of the best spots to look at the fjord had to be Flydalsjuvet. Hopefully I pronounced that right. After a long first day of driving, we finally made it to the Tysddal Gard, our first stop for the night. It's a great hotel experience surrounded by nature. We spent the evening just relaxing and reflecting on the day. Oh yeah, and there's this awesome little hike nearby where you can actually meet friendly goats and catch a canyon view of the Tysddal Fjord. Honestly, it was a perfect way to end our first day in Norway. With the new day ahead, we set our sights on Aurland, but first we had a few places to check out. Our first stop was Vigeland Viewpoint. Simply beautiful to take a look at the fjord from this angle. Funny enough that every vantage point in Norway can be printed on its own postcard. Next, we head to the Norse Fjord Center, tucked right in the heart of Geiranger. And I'm glad we ended up stopping by this location because of the amazingly huge waterfall that's centered right in the heart of the town. The fact that this type of waterfall is actually located right here is amazing. We followed the winding path, taking in the view as we made our way down to the steps towards the falls. Now, if you got the legs for it, I recommend taking the steps all the way down just to say that you did it. But also because you get a good view of this amazing waterfall. Alright guys, after feeling like climbing down 1,000 steps, my knees are hurting, but yeah, it's time to go back up, but really well worth it. Highly recommend, even if you have bad knees, try your best. It's a really cool experience to do the waterfall stair hike. Just amazing. So after visiting Geiranger, we made an unscheduled stop towards the Tysddal National Park Center, where we got to experience a simulation of an avalanche in a small theater. It was cool to see and gave us a sense of what an avalanche may look like within Norway's mountains. Afterwards, we explored the museum's exhibits, which had some of the history and got a cool model view of the Tysddal glacier. Learning about the forces that shaped the glacier added a whole new layer of appreciation for the incredible sights that we were seeing. And as the day went on, we continued to make our way towards the Bergen glacier. While we didn't have enough time to make it all the way to the top, the 3-kilometer hike still gave us some stunning views. Along the way, we passed by some waterfalls and a crystal clear stream. The sound of the water rushing over the rock created a peaceful backdrop for our hike, and the lush green scenery contrasted perfectly with the icy blue of the glacier. Before boarding to the ferry in Aurland, we made a few quick stops to snap photos of this cool portrait backdrop, getting another glimpse of yet another fjord in Norway. The ferry ride itself was a relaxing end to the day. and once we arrived in Aurland, we settled in for the night at a spot close to the river. It was nice to hear the flow of water from our rooms. Looking out over the tranquil river and the surrounding landscapes, it felt like the perfect way to end the day, filled with unforgettable sights and the natural beauty of Norway. For the third day, we decided to go ahead and take our time and enjoy a nice relaxing breakfast before heading off to our next destination. Making our way up towards Vigeland Viewpoint, there was a nice little area to pull up and take again another beautiful fjord picture of Aurland and its surrounding waters. For our first stop, we were going to go ahead and visit Vigeland Viewpoint. It's a popular location and was pretty crowded when we arrived. It's a cool and unique platform that stretches out past the cliffs and an almost artificial waterfall piece made of wood. On a whim, we decided to drive further north past Vigeland, hoping to get even closer to the mountaintops. The drive surprisingly took us to an area that was partially covered in snow. It was actually cool to see how much snow there was still in the summer, and looking and feeling the cold, cool air breeze. After visiting Vigeland and checking out the mountain peaks, we decided to go ahead and make another unexpected stop at a small town called Vigeland. Apparently, this place can be reserved for a hotel stay during certain seasons, but for today, we got a chance to experience an empty small plot of land away from the city and exploring the area. Again, another beautiful panoramic view of the fjord and the surrounding mountains. For our next stop was the small city of Flam, and apparently a popular tourist spot with plenty of local shops and a lively vibe, and we ended up spending a couple of hours wandering around and picking up some souvenirs. There was a small little farmer's market vibe in the area, and it offered lots of interesting and unique types of foods. And as we got closer to Bergen, we made one last stop at a waterfall called Svinsfossen. Oh, hopefully I pronounced that right. A massive waterfall cascading down the mountainside. It was amazing to see the sheer size of this falls and enjoyable to hear the sound of water crashing down on the rocks below. It really felt like the perfect finale to a day filled with spontaneity, discoveries, and an incredible view and scenery of all the surrounding nature that Norway has to offer. After finally reaching Bergen, we decided to go ahead and explore the famous wharf that it is well known for. The waterfront lit by soft streetlights was picture perfect. We strolled along the historic Bergen Wharf where the colorful wooden buildings reflected off the water. It was a perfect way to wrap up the day, capturing one of Bergen's most iconic scenes under the night sky. Before checking out the main city of Bergen, we wanted to make a few stops outside of the city. Our first stop was at the Tysddal Church, which has its similarities of Lof Stand Church in Bergen. Parking can be challenging, but if you've already visited Lof Stand Church, I would probably go ahead and skip this one. It's just a short 5 to 10 minute hike from the parking lot. There was a small fee to enter the grounds of the church, but since we've seen something similar, we decided to go ahead and just take a look from the exterior. Not too far from here is the Gamlehagen Castle Museum. Again, parking can be limited, but if you have some time, it's a great place to go for a quick walk and explore the area. They have a castle-like exterior at the top of the hill and a nice walkable garden to explore. So now let's go ahead and visit the heart of Bergen. This is a very popular tourist attraction, and you'll encounter a lot of people coming from the cruise ships. Depending on time, you can spend a good 2 to 4 hours here just really exploring the town. There's a popular Flydalsjuvet that takes you to the top of Bergen, the famous fish market that supplies many different types of seafood and other delicacies.
Huge. Yeah,
Just remember that Europe is known for its delicious baked goods. Make sure to stop by one of the popular shops and pick up some delicious croissants and tarts to take on the road. Before making our way towards Tysddal, There was another waterfall location that we want to go ahead and check out. What made Steinsfossen unique was the fact that there's a platform that you can hike up to that takes you behind the waterfall. After yet another long full day of exploration, we finally arrived at the Trolltunga guest house, ready for tomorrow's hike. So we're halfway done with our Norway trip, and the country is just as beautiful as I remembered it when I came back here about 5 or 6 years ago. You know, seeing all these beautiful waterfalls, these beautiful fjords, and just these panoramic landscapes just really, really makes me appreciate just how much I really, really love being here. So we're just going to go ahead and settle in and just have a nice relaxing evening before we do our Trolltunga hike for tomorrow. So yeah, cheers guys. So today's the day, and we got up nice and early at around 5 a.m. to get this hike started. There are a few options on how to navigate the beginning. We chose the option of paying a little bit extra to allow us to take our vehicle all the way up to the parking lot. Otherwise, they also have the shuttle service that you will have to also pay for, but at a fraction of the cost. If you're not already familiar with the famous Trolltunga hike, it is one of the most sought out destinations to hike when visiting Norway. The hike to and from the parking lot is about 16 miles with an elevation gain of about 2,500 to 3,000 feet. The average hiker should take about 8 to 10 hours to complete, depending on, of course, your overall fitness level. So we finally hit the 5-kilometer mark, and yeah, such a gorgeous, gorgeous hike. And so far my in-laws are doing really, really well. You know, for being 70 years old, they are really, really killing it. And obviously the hardest part was the first 2 kilometers ascent from basically P3 up to basically the first, I guess you could call it the first summit. But otherwise, yeah, this is such a beautiful, beautiful hike. There are some mild detours that you can take that allows you to really get all of what Trolltunga has to offer. Looking around and just really taking it all in, you can see why Trolltunga is one of the reasons why so many people from around the world come to visit Norway. After hiking what seemed like forever, we finally made it to the end. There might be a line to take a picture on the famous tip, but luckily for us, there weren't too many people here. So after an exhausting 13 hours of hiking, we start to make our way towards the town of Stavanger. However, before completely making our way towards the town, there is yet again another famous hike that Norway is renowned for. The famous
Preikestolen,
or by its English name, Pulpit Rock. Sorry guys, I've pretty much given up with the pronunciations. Granted, the hike wasn't as long as Trolltunga, but Pulpit Rock is still a 5-mile round-trip hike with an elevation gain of approximately 1,000 feet. The sights and sounds during the hike aren't as glamorous, but of course, the view at the top is nothing to scoff at. I recommend coming either very, very early in the morning or towards the later parts of the evening, as this is even more popular of a hike due to the fact that it is considered an easier hike compared to Trolltunga. We arrived at around 8:30 p.m. and there was still a good amount of sunlight for us. Of course, there will be those who are willing to sit at the cliff's edge and take that glamorous Instagram shot, but you ain't getting any of that from us. Enjoy the view, but of course, take caution of the possible dangers. As we slowly start to close out on our journey, so due to the activities that we experienced. In the town of Stavanger, there weren't too much historical sites or significant eye candy for us to look at, but there were still a few places to check out. Our first stop is the
Tverdi
which is just a quick stop to take some unique pictures of the ornamental gigantic swords along the coastal lines of the city. And then making our way just north of the city center is the old town of Stavanger known as Gamli. I really enjoyed the picturesque preserved 18th century style homes and cottages. The beautiful white wooden cottages and cobblestone streets was a great way to experience this subtle, beautiful town. Alright, so it's our last day and we're wrapping up our Norway trip back in Oslo. Since we plan to spend most of our time in the heart of the city, we returned our rental car early. We didn't want to have to deal with city parking, and this also helped save us on some rental fees. Most of the historical sites are easily accessible on foot or by public transportation, and like most European countries, the metro system is super convenient and can take you straight to the airport. Our first day was spent mostly walking around the city from our hotel. Now, I might not know much of the technical details of architectural design, but you can instantly tell just how unique and striking some of these buildings are. Heck, even the playgrounds are designed in ways I've never actually seen before. So we started making our way towards the Oslo Opera House. We got a chance to walk around and explore, making sure to climb up the hill and get a good vantage point of the waterscapes in downtown Oslo. It's a great spot for a walk, especially on a sunny day like today. Make sure to also go inside and take a look at more of the architectural design of the Opera House. And so, one thing I didn't know is that I guess Norwegians really love their saunas. They have an area just adjacent to the Opera House that has boat-style sauna rooms. A cool experience if you have the time, but you know what? I am not getting in that water. It just didn't look super clean to me. And then from here, we continue to make our way south towards the Flydalsjuvet, which is best described as an outdoor food court that also hosts some special events, and of course, another sauna. We continue to explore towards the center of Oslo, stopping by the Oslo Cathedral and eventually making our way towards the Royal Palace. If you time it just right, you can catch the changing of the guard, which is always a highlight when visiting any European country. And so after the Royal Palace, we continue to make our way towards the Vigeland Sculpture Park, which is one of the most memorable stops of Oslo. It features over 200 sculptures by Gustav Vigeland, each one capturing a different emotion or moment. So after spending about 2 hours at Vigeland Park, we decided to go ahead and visit the Akershus Fortress. Hopefully I said that right. And nothing of particular really stood out to me, but we just wanted to go ahead and check this off just to make sure that we visited some of the most popular places while visiting Oslo. And so overall, guys, what can I say about Norway? This is just one of my favorite countries to visit, and honestly would love to come back again and visit some of the other parts of the regions. If you love the outdoors, you love to experience nature in all of its beauty, going on majestic hikes, then Norway is seriously a place you guys have to go and experience because, yeah, there's nothing else like it.